Right, karibu sana. This is Monica Femi, truly Stanley Nyeringita. I do have with me here Shambi Nderito, looking amazing.
Thank you, you as well.
I thought tulikuwa tuvai Valentine's.
Mapema ndio best.
So that Valentine's is red.
So that Valentine's is red.
Right, and today, should I start by apologizing?
You should apologize. Why? I don't know why, but apologize.
Why?
Because you are a man. I'm playing.
And that's the conversation we're having today, bettering your relationships. Gentlemen, umepigiwa simu, umeona two missed calls, ukaona, hii nisiposema I am sorry, those 3 words, kitaumana. Unaanza tu phone call tu hivyo, I am sorry. I am sorry. We'll be discussing that at this day. They have the sharpest of minds. I do have the sharpest of minds for this conversation. She's not a new face to this coaches and to our screens. Always giving us very wise words. Life coach Elizabeth Kinyua, thank you for gracing us today.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
As well as Gakondo Jr., counseling psychologist, as well as an author, Becoming a Man. I'm holding the book here. James Mwangi is a certified counseling psychologist, mental health consultant, transformation coach. I'm being told it's Kagondu. Yes. Corporate trainer, speaker, and team building. Founding director, lead consultant of Mind Care Africa. Quite a lot of hats on your plate there.
I apologize.
Karibu sana. You apologize for the
love that, in theme.
The very many... Ooh. Should we now even start by apologizing, Geshampi?
Let me tell you, men are always guilty of something. Is that a misconception, or am I telling the truth?
No. I think it's a misconception, but we should say it's harder for men to apologize. I think their ego is just too big, and it's harder for them to say, I'm sorry, than women. In any relationship, at the workspace, at home, even among the family members, it's always the women who will come out faster to say, I'm sorry, to apologize, than the men. Well, sometimes they say, actions speak louder than words. And so if it's a husband, he'll come home with 2 kilos of meat. So you are supposed to interpret that as an apology.
I think I can hear my producer shouting, we women always say sorry. And we'll be getting to know how true that is. Remember, gentlemen, by the way, and even ladies, you can be part of this conversation. We're asking you a question of the day. So, gentlemen, how often do you apologize to your significant other? And how do you do it? How often do you apologize to your significant other? Saying sorry ni kawaida, but then how often do you really do it? And how do you do it? Is it by giving gifts?
That is not an apology.
It's not.
We'll hear from the professionals. I think that's an apology.
Mina panga nitafutie mtu maua.
Uache. Mission abolished.
Call in live, by the way. I really want to hear from the ladies. Does he even say sorry? And how often does he say sorry? Gentlemen, call in live. Tell us, do you oftenly say sorry? So now that we really get to hear the fact that fine, ego ya wanaume na inakuga as high. But then, Kagondo, now for the men who really say sorry each and every single time, is it the fact that they're not as tough, as a quote-unquote, as society will call them, are they sisters?
Maybe we can start with, are there men who say sorry every single time? I don't know, which men are those you're talking about?
I think I'm a living example. I just apologize for the many titles.
No. Yake ni ile inaitwa, si sorry basi. Which has some pride in it.
Sorry if you're angry.
So unataka kulia.
Lazima ulie. Yeah. And it looks like men have a certain number of apologies to make, you know, in their lifetime. And to some extent, I tend to think that they're always careful, you know, not to like do away or even withdraw all the apologies from the account. And that's why maybe they're a bit economical when it comes to the number of sorries that they say. Say in a relationship.
For that.
Yes, but looking at it from a critical point of view, there's an element of socialization. And a lot of what you have seen, especially, say, with the men who are around us, especially when you are growing up. Talk about a young boy who sees their father, you know, coming in with some 2 kilos of meat as a way of saying, I apologize, you know, for my misconduct or even conducting myself in a certain way. Do you think that this particular person been, you know, in a good position to utter those words, all right? So to me, it would be a lot of socialization. But of course, there are so many, you know, who are there, who are really in touch with their emotions, because when you look at the whole aspect of apologizing, there's a lot of emotions and feelings that come with it. And you know what we are told, that men are not really in touch with the emotions. And whenever they see you kind of getting emotional, crying, you know, that will make most of them to be very uncomfortable. But there is a good number out there who are really okay, you know, with apologizing.
With apologizing. Let's hear from Ben. Elgeyo Marakwet. Kama yeye husema pole. Barabara asubuhi, and asante sana for calling us. How is Elgeyo Marakwet looking like this morning, by the way? Kibet, kama unanisikia, habari asubuhi, how is Elgeyo Marakwet looking like this morning? Kibet, habari asubuhi. Huyu ameenda. Tafuta credit, tupigie simu 0795045864. Tupigie simu tuambie how often do you apologize as a man? How often do you apologize? And if you do oftenly, how do you do it? Usikia nyama pia ni nyama kilo 2. Ulikosea asubuhi, umerudi na haujaongea nyama kilo 2 and other things umesema pole.
That is so shady. Elizabeth, I'd like to hear from you. There's a time, a while back, I read a book by Sheryl Sandberg. She's the former COO of Facebook. And she was saying the problem women have, especially in the workspace, is being too sorry. You know, I'm sorry. Always really quick to apologize. And you've mentioned something about women, you know, women are quicker, apologize quicker as compared to men. So is this a good thing?
I think we are generally peacemakers, peacekeepers, peace chasers, if you can call that. So anything that will mess with my peace, I'm ready to drop my guard and say, you know what, I'm sorry, let's move on. And swallow my pride as opposed to a man. So I don't think there's anything wrong. You don't come out as weak. Because if that's what will give me peace and maintain this relationship, sometimes saying sorry is not is so much about the value you hold to that relationship as opposed to who is winning, who will win, who is right, who is wrong. So if to me the relationship is more valuable, I don't mind saying sorry and for us making peace so that we can continue and manage the relationship. Yeah.
But Kagondu, does that mean that number one, men do not like peace? Or is it that you're at peace when you wrong us?
Yeah.
Or number two, that you don't value our relationships, the relationships you have with us?
I think men are the most peace-loving people we have around there. And yes, my brother can confirm that.
Oh yes,
because anytime that you see a man walking out, especially when at the heat of the moment, you know, arguing and exchanging words, it doesn't mean that they really don't want to deal with that issue at that particular moment. It's only that they want to take a breather, you know, just to recollect themselves and also to give you time, you know, to deal with the emotions or even cool down so that you can have an ample space whereby you can be able to communicate. Because remember, apologizing, saying sorry is it's one we can say it's one of the cultivators for communication, you know. It's a catalyst for communication, whereby it does facilitate, you know, a very conducive environment for you to, you know, share probably the cause of the differences that you had, and of course, be in a position to get that much needed peace that we have. So to me, it all trickles down to an individual, because you also have ladies who are out there, and for them, saying sorry is also a big deal, yeah, and they may not be in a position to even accept, you know, the issues, or even if they have done a certain wrong. And this is where we say that it does trickle to an individual, depending on how well you are comfortable with your emotions, and of course, letting your guard down and not feeling like you're being attacked, especially when you're apologizing, all right? So to me, it does trickle down to an individual. Yeah.
So, as much as you know, you're saying trickling to an individual. So how much of you being raised, and really, I love to hear from both of you. So how much impact as a man, how you've been raised, does that impact even your relationship? For example, to find a man who was raised in a home, as you're saying, he saw the dad angekosea, yeye angeisema pole, hakuwahi sikia the dad ever saying sorry. Just that one word, saying sorry in that house. If probably angeona kuna nyama imenunuliwa, najua nika mzae leo alikosea. Does that now affect even this, you know, young man as they're growing up? They know, well, I don't really have to say this. It worked with my parents, so we can just cruise through.
There are two ways that I would love to look at that, right? There's this young man who has been raised in a family where there are no sorries and all that, yeah? And we always say that monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey
and
do.
A lot of who we are, especially how we conduct ourselves, it has to do with our 0 to 10 years, you know, when you are being nurtured and, you know, socialized when you attend at that particular tender age. And this is the replica, the manifestation of what we went through, especially on how we handle issues, how we communicate, the way that we're able to even, you know, show remorsefulness, especially when we are apologizing. But there's also this particular group that were never validated, you know, that were really hurt at a tender age, the ones who are dismissed, all right? And they are so quick to really apologize. So when you say that men are not quick to apologize, even when you find a lady who is always quick to apologize, I tend to ask myself, where is this coming from? Is it that they are looking for validation, for acceptance and all that? So it has a lot to do with how we really grew up. And saying sorry doesn't mean that we are really okay. It could be communicating to Elizabeth that I want you to really accommodate me, or even validate the kind of a person that I am. So it all depends with how we were nurtured, and it's always good that we be careful, especially when interacting with one another. I know Coach will confirm that even when you're getting into a relationship, talk about the marriage and all that, getting to dig deeper, you know, from where this person is coming from, it's equally important, because that communicates the kind of a person that you are, and especially how you handle your emotions and the differences that you have. Because it's one thing to apologize, and it's another thing to really mean, you know, what you are saying, and especially when you're dealing with the conflicts that are at stake at this particular point.
Right.
I hear Rose Onyango is on the line with us. Hello. Hi, Rose Onyango. Rose Onyango, good morning.
Yes, I just want to disagree with the lady who is saying that she's always the one apologizing, because she's always the one saying, I'm sorry. I think a good relationship should be contributed to by both sides, okay? Both sides. I think it's not fair for her.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Rose. Rose,
and I think she's somehow straining to maintain the relationship.
You're right.
Okay, thank you so much, Rose, for contributing and watching us. Have a good day.
Let me correct that. I only said that women are quicker to apologize, to make peace. Naturally, I think it's in part of our wiring. It does not mean that the man can never apologize. Let me correct that. I didn't say I am always apologizing. Those two are very different things. I only said women are generally quicker to apologize than men. Sometimes it's, I think, in our DNA. And you've got us to realize when you come to the place where you find a person who is too hard to admit and seek peace in relation to a reconciliation and saying sorry, they have a problem. They actually have a problem. And the problem is their self-esteem and their ego. Things are not working right. And especially when you're overprotective and not really coming out to admit this happened, this is a problem, or you want to justify and go like, for example, oh, I didn't think that was going to be so painful. I didn't think it was going to hurt you that much. I am protecting myself such that I don't want to admit that whatever I did really offended you. For me to admit and say, God, I'm so sorry, that must have been painful. It means I have come to the level of empathizing and feeling like, for sure, being remorseful. What I did was wrong. Okay? So I'm not saying we just throw the sorries everywhere, sorry, see sorry. No. That's
but then now, and I'm curious from now the ladies, from both of you. We talk about now intra-relationship, but let's step backwards kidogo. Kagondo sasa hapo ndio tunapatanga the real tupate vizuri. Is it a red flag, as red as Kashambi's dress, a red flag if a gentleman says, mko kwa date, you probably started, talking, let's say a few weeks ago, mmepatana, it's the first time, nothing yet, amjaanza kudate bado. But will it be a red flag if the guy keeps on saying sorry? Or maybe hakuona text yako, maybe he's texting back 2 hours later and he starts by saying, I'm sorry, I didn't see your text. I'm sorry, probably I missed your call. I'm sorry, this and this and this. Will it be a red flag? But then before I think about it from both of you, turudi kwa Kibet, back in Elgeyo Marakwet County, after credit. Kibet, habari ya asubuhi, asante sana for calling us. Maoni yako ni yapi? Do you apologize that much? Ama wewe ni wale wa misi semi sorry? Hello, nakusikia. Hello, nakusikia Kibet, endelea.
Nilikuwa na swali hivi. Okay, apologize ama msamaha. Msamaha ni kitu mzuri kwa sababu mimi nilikuja kuangalia ukikosea katika mahusiano. Inabidi useme pole. Sisi ni wake kusema msamaha kwa sababu msamaha ndio ni kitu mzuri sana. Kwa sababu usiposema msamaha na mnakosana katika mahusiano, ama ukikosea mtu ni makosa kubwa sana.
Asante sana Ben Kibet kutoka Elgeyo Marakwet County. Salimia watu huko. Back to now the red flags. Kashabi, should I start with you? Can it be a red flag? Siku ya kwanza, date ya kwanza ndio mmekaa chini in a very fancy hotel somewhere. Is probably, maybe we said, I don't know, 7 p.m. He's in there 7:10 p.m. It's like, I'm sorry, kidogo mmekaa chini. I'm sorry, he's already poured out 5 I'm sorries. Can that be a red flag?
Maybe we can hear from the expert first.
What is a red flag? Because I think we're also in a generation where everything is that is not acceptable to me is a red flag. Someone can genuinely run late. Genuinely. Is that a red flag? I was somewhere in Mombasa and someone said, my guy forgot my birthday. To me, that's a red flag. And I was like, geez, I think we need to define where the red flags fall and where really we look at this person as genuinely making a mistake. Because in life, you can't say you do life without ever making a mistake, either saying something that offended someone, and you genuinely didn't do it intentionally. So when people are dating, sometimes I also encourage people, make something that will annoy the other person so that you can know how far and how emotionally stable they are. Okay? So if you meet with someone and they tell you, you've been dating, you know, for the last 6 months, hatujai kosana, you know, it's a yes, yes, we do this, yes, yes, we are agreeing on everything. I think that to me now should be the red flag.
It should be.
If we are agreeing on everything, you say we move left. I say like, fine. So we jump up, fine. Can we go and have coffee somewhere? Fine. Can we, everything is also fine. Something is wrong somewhere. So a natural and normal relationship is where those things will happen. People will cross paths, even in the home, between siblings. Yeah. It's inevitable.
Yeah,
I mean, two people living together, once in a while you cross paths. But how you navigate through that now is what makes the difference, and what draws the line between a toxic relationship and one that is not toxic, dealing with a narcissist and when you're not dealing with a narcissist. But generally, I don't know why people should struggle with apologizing, really. If you've come late, as you said, fine, I've come late. I'm sorry. It's natural. I ought not to delay you in your... But if it is forced, and you can't see you've come late, you know, having to force someone to say sorry.
But is there another way to say... for someone to, instead of saying, I'm sorry I came late, can there be a better way to say it?
Can there be a better way?
Or rather, not a better, but an alternative way to say it?
No, the best for me, the honorable way to say sorry is to say sorry.
That's very true. Preach. You're preaching.
The honorable way to say sorry is to say sorry. And that's it. And I want to repeat again, it's the strong people who say sorry. It's people struggling with their emotions and self-worth that struggle to say sorry. However, you've got also to realize the one you talked about, that within a setting we have said sorry 5 times, 10 times. It's probably a way of someone expressing themselves. You know those words that you pick. For example, in a discussion, you find someone says like, like 10 times. You know?
So for them just saying, I'm sorry, to be a filler for...
Yeah, it's a filler or an intro for a conversation or something like that. And probably they're not apologizing over anything. It's their way of just doing an intro of, or approaching a discussion, something like that.
He was really burning to chime into that. Gashambi, I'm still coming to you. Is it a red flag?
You know, as much as yes, I agree with Coach that sorry is a noble thing, and saying those words. I also tend to believe just the same way that we have different love languages, there are different ways that we can be able to approach the issue. Because I don't think it would be anything wrong for me to be more into actions rather than words. And you know, for the ladies, you're good with the words, all right? For the men, we could be better with actions, all right? And probably the reason why that you'll find some men delaying or even taking their time, it's because they're also kind of logical the same way that our ladies are so good with the emotions, right? And if I'm late and I say thank you for being patient, all right, I think that also kind of makes you feel better.
No, that's
no,
that's it. No, that's it.
and it also shows that I also appreciate, you know, that you really considering my emotions or even the effort that I've made to get to where we are. So kununua nyama, it's still okay. You know, bringing those flowers is still okay, all right? As long as I'm very intentional with the kind of an act that I have, that I'm doing, or even the way that I'm approaching the whole issue. Yes.
Elizabeth, do you agree that women are emotional beings, men are logical beings? I do not agree with that.
I agree because, you know, in a pendulum, women swing from one extreme to another. We can swing. Let's be real. Our hormones come into play and, you know, our emotions and everything. So we can swing. But men will just swing slightly.
I do not disagree that women are emotional.
Yes.
I, however, do not agree that men are logical.
Well, let's say there's another breed of men that is coming up that has not been well fathered.
Kuna batch ingine wanakuja Mombasa wanakuja kesho, but so zoe wenye wako sahi.
So ile beli inafunguliwa probably has not really had the father figures around them to see how a man ought to manage himself. And I have nothing against those who have been raised by a single mom. No. I'm simply saying that then if you're in that kind of a relationship where you are raised by a single mom, you've got to be very intentional to learn from another man. Okay? And if it's at a tender age, your mother has got to also to be intentional to subject you or to bring you to a man and see how a man ought to be. And that brings a question probably, is that why we're having so many men who are behaving more like women because of that non-exposure to a father figure really, who can call out the man in you and, you know, call out the character of a true man, the colors of a true man out of this young gentleman.
But Kagondu, I believe if Nyaringita is to learn from the father and, you know, and the uncles on how to behave as a man, I don't think he will apologize to me, because we grew up, our dads, our dads do not apologize.
No, even that generation, sorry to interrupt, there are a few that would still come out and apologize, though not very frequently, but they would do. I'm sure. These are remnants, a small number.
I don't
the
think
frequency
so.
will be low now.
Yeah. I think I grew up seeing my dad, who is a very lovely, lovely man, for real. But if my dad, right now, if we fight or, you know, or if he knows he's done something, he'll either buy me something, and I don't want that from a relationship, you know. He'll either buy me something or try to mend fences using very funny, that are not, you know, an apology. Okay, we have a call on the line. Hello, hi Nathan, good morning. Good morning, Nathan.
Yes.
Unaendeleaje?
Nilikuwa nasema
Uh-huh.
the discussion is the best. It helps some relationship, all marriages, and then kuomba msamaha ni kitu ya maana sana, but most of good morning. Good morning. Yes.
Kuomba msamaha ni kitu ya maana sana. Thank you so much for that, Nathan. Salimia watu wa kwenyu. I love how men are calling and telling us kuomba msamaha ni kitu ya maana sana. I'm wondering, kwani who these men have been dating?
The frequency of it now really matters.
Okay.
And even becoming a man really, I'm curious now, Kagundu, in this book, does it entail the frequency of how a man should be saying sorry and the form of it? Tumesema fine, nyama nini, Kashambi akasema maneno ya maua, wachana nayo. Hiyo, I mean, for gifts and all that, it should be, you know, you actually saying it. And then we do say actions speak louder than words. Actions will always speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you see, when you bring actions first, you're making restitution even before the apology. First apologize, then make restitution by bringing the flowers.
But the flowers will be a soft landing for my sorry. Siwezi kuja niseme pole.
I don't know whether you've had relationships where the lady is insisting, Aki, si useme tu sorry. Si useme tu sorry.
Just say it. Just say the words.
You need to hear women.
Why do ladies really want to hear that sorry?
You know, for the ladies, they're more into words, and that's why it means everything, all right? And this is where I feel that we need to accommodate one another.
Exactly.
All right? And if my lady is, her love language is words of affirmation, then I should know better that I should be using more words, all right? But now the challenge comes in where I have been socialized in a totally different manner.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about the book and whether we have a certain number of sorries that we need to say. I know with the Christians in the house, we've been told to apologize how many times?
Forgive 7 times.
77 times.
Forgive 47 times?
77.
Yes. You know, that's quite a big number, right? But the thing is, I may say sorry 10 to 100 times, but I don't really mean it, you know. I'm just saying it for the sake of making you cool down or even, you know, hearing those words, right? In the book, what we realize is that men, we're having gaps, right, in our society. And when Coach is talking about a man, a boy needing a man, you know, to bring out the man in them, it's so true because every cab needs a lion to bring out the lion in them, right? And equally, for a mother, they will make a baby into a boy, but they will never make a boy into a man. That is the work of a man, a male figure, right? And this is why we are saying that as much as, yes, Gashambi is talking about having so many who never get to apologize back there in the society, we equally have a good number of men who are really responsible, and they're also really in touch with their emotions. And these are the people that we should be targeting, especially for the single mothers or the mothers who, the families that do not have father figures, right? These should be the ones to cultivate, you know, the emotions, and also to really model this young boy or this young man in the right way. So the question is, how do we go about it? And this is where we say that even for the ladies, if there is a lot of hurt within, you know, especially say from the past relationships and all that, it's equally good that we get to appreciate the fact that, yes, nilikosewa, but it's not every other man who is like that, right? And this is where we say that it's good that you get to approach your significant other. Talk about your siblings, your male siblings. Talk about your uncles. Talk about your cousins. Of course, the responsible ones, you know? Because, yes, we might have, you know, men around us, but there's a whole lot of issues because maybe they are not really well, you know, nurtured or even responsible in the right way. So that says that it's equally good for men to come in. And if we have good men out there, talk about the churches, the families and all that, they should step in to nurture these young boys so that we can avoid a lot of the abuse that we have in the society. Talk about the killings, all right? Talk about men who cannot apologize, even if it means to come back home na nyama.
The ones that will say, I would rather die.
Now let's go to Tungong. Pale Jonte yuko. Jonte, habari asubuhi. Do you have a question? Unachangia kwa mada yetu. Will you actually, how often do you apologize and how do you do it?
This is George.
Okay, George, endelea.
Hello.
Yes, endelea.
We've lost him.
Yeah. Kutoka Ngong, unaweza tupigia tena. Remember, you can always call in live. I'm curious now from the ladies' perspective. First of all, Gashambi, kuna swali. I'm curious, will it be a red flag? But then, ladies, you can tell us, does he apologize oftenly? Is he the one akiona message yako as a lady, atashinda amesema, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry? Talk to us. You're wrapping up on, you know, becoming a man and what we should really, you know, do to even change that perspective.
Yes. Yeah, it's good that you get to appreciate that being a man is a struggle, you know. It's quite a bit of a challenge.
I agree, even if I'm not a man.
Yeah. And to come out and become a responsible man, it's equally quite a bit of a challenge, all right? And this is where we are saying that it's good that we have role models. It's one thing, you know, to have somebody to work with you, and it's another to have somebody, a man of substance, to really instill those values, the traits, and the character in this particular young man. So I was saying that it's good that we get to fill into that gap. As much as, yes, we're talking about the many men who don't apologize, let's also get to celebrate the very few that do so, all right? And this should be taken as a gem, you know, in the society, the ones that should be, you know, put closer, and especially when it comes to the mentorship and the modeling of, you know, the next generation. Even with the ladies, because for the ladies, you also need the men, you know, to bring out, you know, the one person who is really in charge, one who is really in control of themselves. And of course, when you talk about being logical, the leader in you, that requires someone to help you to bring out that in you.
And just a background on this, I remember back in 2014, the Ulinzi Stars goalkeeper called Francis Onyiso, if you can remember, bought a whole space on one particular newspaper just to publicly apologize for the wife. And, you know, over the years, we have seen, you know, a number of men. I mean, Onyiso was someone from, you know, KDF, quite one of the toughest. And for a man of his stature, actually, you know, apologizing. And this really speaks volumes on what you're talking about, the kind of men we are shaping up really at that time. But then now, for men generally, let's say that tungekuwa na Mwangi, alafu tumekosana kidogo, For us, even saying sorry to each other would really be rare. It will be in rare circumstances. You probably now just transition to another topic and you'd assume hiyo tumesahau. Ukianza sasa kuipursue now, why are you doing that? But then now, is it now different for ladies, even between ladies, for them saying sorry to each other?
It's a complex web. Our wiring is usually very unique as women, because sometimes even they say we are our own worst enemies among ourselves. So we can argue, quarrel, differ over very, very small really issues. The cup should not be placed here, no, it should have been placed there and right there. And then what will happen is we are able to network all the issues, all of them. There's an issue that happened last week, another one last month, last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and then you wonder what exactly is a problem. And that's what also I think the gentlemen struggle to really come to terms with. Because the minute we get in that moment of conflict, I'm able to dig an issue that happened 5 years ago. He can't remember, genuinely.
5 years ago?
Yes. God has wired us in that. I think you'll agree.
I agree.
God has
totally.
A wiring in us.
So conversation
10 years ago, I can even remind you, that day you came in wearing a red shoe.
9:12
and you came at very specific, very particular. And that's something that men really are not so much gifted in. So you realize, for us as women, you've got now to be, let me say, emotionally mature to be able to deal with this issue and not really interconnect all the other issues. The issue is money and how we are handling money, finances at home. Stop bringing the issue of, even I saw the way you looked at my mother over the Christmas season when we went home, your eyes were telling and blah, blah. And the guy wonders, really? So we've moved from money, now we are discussing. And you've got to be intentional about calling yourself now to that committee and saying, okay, we're dealing with finances.
And also being intentional on how to say sorry. Usiseme tu si sorry basi. But then let's get Dominic from Satellite here, right here in Nairobi. Dominic, habari asubuhi. Uko na swali ama you want to really chime in na kutupea maoni yako?
Hello.
Hello, nakusikia ha? Endelea.
Mimi nilikuwa najaribu kuchangia mada. Yes, mimi sina swali ila tu kuna hii mada yenye inaendelea. Yes, mimi kwetu tunaelewa ya kwamba sorry, mimi ni mwenyewe nimekaa kwetu huo muda wote. Kutokea nizaliwe hadi nikakuwa mkubwa. Nimefikia hapa, sijawahi ona babangu, hata mimi babangu mwenyewe akisema sorry kwa mamangu, ila saa nyingine wenda ikawa wanasema sorry wakiwa chumbani, sijui. Mimi na mke wangu, hiyo saa nyingine nikifanya makosa nimkosee, naweza kuja pale nyumbani nikiwa nimebeba kakitu, ile ishara ya kwamba kumwambia mimi niko pole, lakini kwangu mimi kusema sorry sijawahi. Alafu nyingine kule kwetu basi unapata mwanamke, umepata mwanamke ukamwoa pale chumbani, mko naye, mmekaa, mnaona mmekaa vizuri, hamujakosana nini. Kule kwetu unafanyaga kitu kimakusudi ili apate makosa, umtandike ili akuambie sorry, lakini mwanaume sijaisikia kitu kama hiyo. Yeah.
Asante sana Dominic tuka Satellite right in Nairobi. When men really, and I think now for men really have to say, first of all, how they were brought up, never really saying, hata kuona, hata kusikia sorry in that household. And even for them having ile gift, it speaks volumes than just saying, I am sorry. How do you really weigh someone saying, I am sorry? nikuje tu niseme I am sorry. How do you weigh the genuineness in that I am sorry?
It is what follows after that that will make the difference. Because you can say 50 sorries, but then your sorry should be accompanied with an act, an action, or even a confirmation that I am working towards rectifying, amending whatever may have gone wrong. Or even coming to the table to seek reconciliation of how do we progress from here. Now this happened, and this is what I promise from my part to do. If I'm constantly, not spending money very well, then I should be able to come to the place of saying, for example, I appreciate and accept that, fine, I've not been a very good spender, but from now moving forward, I think I would want to know how best you can help me in overcoming this challenge. Now, those are two mature people in a relationship, really. But if I hold my guard and go like, hey, see, I make money, Kwan is a big issue, I'm going to 50, yours is 50-50, you're going nowhere. You'll even make matters
Does
worse.
that sound like you?
50-50. I'm wondering why I'm 50-50 kweli.
And also,
90-10.
and also, let me correct. I think the generation we are having now, because of, I think, the exposures we've had also, we've moved from the place of having to beat a wife, really, not spank is for children. Beat that wife for her to be able to say sorry, for you to confirm that you love that woman. I think we've really moved far from that generation. Yeah. We have a very empowered woman today, by the way. Those things, they'll not entertain those things. You beat me for me to say I'm sorry. I think that's imesonga nyuma kidogo. The woman we have today is a woman who has been constantly told that what a man can do, a woman can do better. Not just do better. Now, the man is endangered because the woman has been whispered to, heard this over and over again, and so the woman arrived where the man is.
So that means also
the place called can do better. We are there, all of us. And nobody has spoken and called out the man to tell them, now progress.
Progress. So does that mean now for this empowered woman, they also want to hear the I'm sorry in a different way than it was, they would have heard it kitambo?
I don't think there's a woman in today's generation, a few, let me say, there's still a few who would want to be thorax to say a sorry with a slap. Would you take that?
Physical abuse.
Your guy has to abuse you physically for you to say sorry.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
And even for the very empowered woman, let me tell you, there's a soft spot where you touch with a sorry and they melt.
Which is that soft spot?
I think, actually,
I am curious. I'll have to edge closer and listen to this. Your soft spot.
You should send an invoice.
Wow.
There's something you'd mentioned about words of affirmation. And I'll tell you, for sure, someone whose primary love language is words of affirmation, i.e. me, you have to apologize. But tell us about the soft spots.
I love the way that you expounding everything. And it's true that ladies are nowadays quite empowered. And we also need to appreciate that long ago, the times when physicality, getting physical with them was the order of day. But it's also good that we also get to really appreciate the cultures, where they're coming from. When our brother talks about, back in the village, how it happens, we have seen that. And it's also a key contributor, to the gender-based violence in the name of showing you that I love you, that I am really apologetic and all that, all right? But all that said and done, when you look at the parameter of getting to measure how meaningful this apology is, it's good that you get to appreciate the 3 R's, okay? One, it will be the regrets. Okay, the other one, it will be the responsibility, then the remedy. And I love it when you say that once I get to be remorseful about the whole encounter, about what I did wrong, it's good that I get to take ownership, that I really wronged you and you weren't really happy with that. And of course, validating your emotions and the feelings that came about with that. But not with the remedy, getting to rectify everything. It's one thing to say sorry and it's another to live for that particular word, okay? Because I can you may be in the need of the words of affirmation, and I say sorry a couple of times, say 100 times, but I don't really mean that. I'm just saying for the sake of making you, feel better, because that is what you really want to hear, right? And the thing is, getting to really work on you and rectify. Talk about issues to do with mismanaging the finances. What are you doing about it, okay? Are you attending even a short course?
Before we delve deeper into mismanaging finances, I'm being told, Elizabeth, that you have a caller called Irene from Utawala.
Wow.
She wants to speak to you. Habari, Irene. Hello, Irene.
Yes.
Elizabeth is with us here in studio. Tuongeleshe.
Oh, I thought I can comment on the topic. It's okay.
Okay.
Yes, continue.
Hello?
Hello, continue, yes.
Okay. Mine was to say, first of all, the topic is very timely because of what is happening in relationships.
Yeah.
And about saying sorry, I would like to just say that it is very important to learn your partner, to learn your spouse, to learn them and to know the love language. And again, what I've learned is that you don't expect saying sorry from somebody every now and then. You have to, somebody taught us about ignoring, putting on an ignore button. There are things that you should expect, but there are things you put on an ignore button and you move on with life. And another last thing I can say is about mentorship. It's very important when people are in a relationship. Very important, mentorship.
Right. Asante sana, Irene, for calling us.
You're told to pick your fights.
Yes.
It's true, it's not everything you apologize for.
Food for thought.
We were talking finances before interjecting.
Yes, on remedy, and we were saying that as much as, yes, you take ownership, the thing that to really sustain, say the apology or even the relationship that you have, because remember, with the apology, saying sorry, you're trying to, amend things and, of course, cultivate the relationship that you have with this particular person. It would be what you do next, and I agree with the coach. Because if I have issues with finances, and all I do is just apologize and saying how much money I make, how much I provide in the family, how much I cater, all the expenses in this particular homestead, and I'm doing nothing about it, then I feel, even if it's 100 sorries, that doesn't mean anything, right? And this is why we say you need to do something about it. If I have challenges with my finances, well and good. I should even get to an extent or even getting a mentor, if not even doing a short course on the same. If we have issues, say with communication, there are so many short courses, out there that can really help you when it comes to that. Talk about even parenting, the way that I cater or even take care of my son or even my daughter. And according to you, it's a totally different perspective or even view based on how you were raised or even how things were done in your family, and you're seeing some shortcomings or even some gaps that I have. This is where we say that you also need to work on you. And this is where coach and I comes in with their personal development, helping you to grow, to be able to go beyond this particular gap that you have.
Right. So food for thought before you take social media, what people are saying on social media, and later take a short break. I'm curious, you can answer me now after the break. Should it be publicly apologizing ama ile privately umetafuta? Mulikuwa na wageni nini, everything, alafu umekosea kidogo. Should you now right there and then say, I am sorry babe, mbele ya wageni, mbele ya kila mtu, ama wacha watu waende alafu sasa useme, by the way, asubuhi nilikosea, pole. Food for thought. What are people saying on social media?
People, this has gotten people quite excited on social media. So Abraham Guardians, these daughters of Jezebel never apologize and will never. If you're couples, she'll just sleep without whatever's and ensure she places her soft style. Wewe, Abraham, wewe. Brian is saying, just gifting her, that's my vibe. Kelvin is saying, women hate weak men. We will define weak maybe after the break. A man should never apologize. In fact, she should apologize on your behalf. And she should kneel down while she makes that apology. I repeat, women love overly toxic men. That's why nice men suffer and end up crying with one eye, like we won't mention what he said. Bernard is saying, I don't apologize and won't do it any soon. Swale, psychologist, aki uko na kazi. You have work. Abraham is saying, mko na mchezo bana.
Right. Keep talking to us. Keep talking to us. Gentlemen, do you apologize? How often do you apologize? If you do apologize, oftenly, how do you do it? We'll be getting to know more later. Unaweza tupigie simu right now. Tafuta credit, weke, then you call us. Numbers just below the screens there, 0795045864. Tuchukue break, tukunywe maji kidogo. We'll be right back. Right, karibu sana. Welcome back. This is Morning Cafe. The hashtag is Relationships Thursday. It's a Thursday giving you some tips on bettering your relationships. Kuna mpoa, relax. We'll be giving you advice on how to kumtunza vizuri. Kama hauna, kama mimi, na gashambe.
Why? Don't speak for me.
Oh, I am sorry. Makosa ni yangu. And yes, we'll be discussing and have been discussing and saying I am sorry, those three words and how much they really mean. Just diving in before the break, having a number of callers talking to us. You can always be part of that. 0795045864. Weka credit sai utupigie simu. And before the break, I really wanted that food for thought. Public apology ama private? we've really established saying sorry in different forms and ways might really be necessary at the end of the day, even for man, and necessarily for man. But then how do you do it? Ikue privately ama publicly? Mlikuwa na wageni kutoka asubuhi nini, ukafanya makosa kidogo hapo katikati, wageni wakiwa ni wengi hapo, should you be saying hapo na hapo, babe, I'm sorry, ama ungoje watu waende kabisa, nyinyi wawili mmebaki ndio sasa useme sorry zako hapo? Kinywa.
There's an apology called an instrumental apology, which is like what organizations do. You do it publicly to save the face of their company. When Kenya Power disrupts power, they give us an apology, really. They don't owe us. They can actually survive without the apology and all that kind of stuff. So when I have to do it the instrumental way, like,
sorry, boss.
In front of everybody, that's how I would look at it. But a true genuine relationship, apology for me, is where I come to the place of dropping my guard, being vulnerable, and genuinely apologizing to you. This is between the two of us. Fine. Whatever may have happened, others may have been witnesses. So there are those who opt to go like the instrumental way of, apologizing. For me, it has its own, there are benefits you want to reap out of it. I mean, you have an agenda in it from where I sit. But the true, genuine one comes to, it is you I offended. It is you that I hurt. And so I'm ready to drop my guard, become vulnerable, and really empathize with you and feel your pain and apologize.
I don't know, Kagondu, if we say that's private, that's public apologies, or maybe, apologies to save face for the person who's wronged the other. What happens if, say, my partner has shouted at me, or has spoken to me rudely in front of people? Shouldn't he apologize immediately to even save my face? Wataenda wakisema, hey, huyu anaongeleshangu aje na amesoma.
Na ametulia, alafu sasa inaanza sasa kuchachisha. Ingekuwa mimi. Ingekuwa mimi.
Mimi siwezi ongeleshwa hivyo. Because I think a partner should apologize on the spot if they wouldn't even understand why they'd be rude in the first place. In front.
I would want to take you back when you were young. And umekosea, your cousins are in the house. You have these wagenis who have come over. And the beating takes place at that particular time. How did that make you feel? A lot of humiliation, and no regard in your dignity and all that, of course. And, some parents were so good when it came to that. And this is where I want to agree with Coach that the whole aspect of apologizing, it's quite personal, It all depends with the kind of a relationship that we have. Of course, there are cases whereby maybe they shout at you and they're humiliating you in the public, and there's that desire for you to rectify everything and reconcile in the midst of those who are present. But to me, it should be personal. And this is where one of us, one of the callers had mentioned that it's good that we get to learn one another, all right? What do I need? What do I want? And how do I love to be treated? And this is where we say that even the way that we relate, there is an element of value that is exchanged, in this particular relationship. And how I really conduct myself should be the same way that I would need someone else to, really handle me. And this is where we are saying that it should trickle down to the personal relationship that you have with this particular person. When I demand this apology, am I lowering their dignity? Do I also want to, humiliate them? Or even is it a tit for tat? And they say that tit for tat is a fair game. But at the end of it all, where does it leave the relationship at? Okay? In most cases, it will be quite a hard nut to crack, and the relationship may be in a turmoil at the end of the day.
So now, if it's now, for example, the public apology, and kumbele ogeni hapo, how do you now phrase this I am sorry? Because you might really say, I'm sorry for doing that. How do you phrase this I am sorry such that it can actually feel even genuine?
I love how Stanley keeps insisting on how do you phrase, he really wants you guys to tell him, unaweza sema sorry in any other way. I'm sorry, but let's hear from the experts.
By the time you're coming and exhibiting some of those characters and habits and traits in public, there's an underlying problem. There's an underlying problem. So I would not be so quick to see the bigger picture of you going on your knees, shedding tears and the drama that comes with that and saying sorry in front of my friends. I would want to address what's the problem. This man is suffering, or this, if he's really shouting at me, honorably and genuinely speaking, when we are, you know, amidst our friends, there's a way we naturally ought to conduct ourselves without faking it, okay? Honorably. Even when we are the two of us, why should you shout at me? It means there's a problem somewhere. So you cannot just say, you know, I'm sorry, I shouted at you. I would want to take that to cover face and to protect probably the relationship at that moment. But after everyone has disappeared and the doors are shut, I would want to dig deeper. What is the problem? Yes. Because then it will keep repeating itself. You're probably dealing with a narcissist. You're probably in a very toxic relationship. And those are some of the indicators that can really show you that there's a problem here. So sorry or no sorry, there's already a problem.
And of course, to add on that, when you talk about the emotions, talk about the anger, this is a communication of what you are dealing with, or maybe what you're struggling with, right? And anger has a lot to do with the hurt that you might have experienced. Could it be the way that we are relating, say, even in the midst of these friends who are in the house, it could have been a trigger, you know, taking me back to where we were. And I really appreciate, you know, what Coach is talking about, us getting to deal with the root cause, you know, of what is contributing to all this. Because every other emotion that is out there, it's a communication of something that you have gone through or something that you are really struggling. And this is where we talk about even support, yeah? We always think of the premarital counseling, yeah, before you guys come together. But how many of us also get to engage a therapist, a coach, for their post-marital, you know, post-wedding, you know, support? Because I feel this is where we need to also invest a lot, yeah? If it comes to the investment, we are all attending these investment forums, classes and all that, but how many of us get to involve someone who can work with us, especially to better our relationship? And I like it when we say that it's good that we get to dig deeper, you know, go back to the root cause of what is contributing to all this. It could be that you're also a key contributor, you know, to how this particular person is conducting themselves. It could be that the lady is so angry because of what happened yesterday. I remember there's a course that I was teaching a certain group, and in this particular course we had pilots. And I remember one of the case studies was this particular pilot, when they were landing, they forgot to lower the landing gears. And when guys came to their rescue, you know what he said? He said, "Damn that woman." And you can see it could be that they had some differences maybe in the previous night, the previous 1 week, and it has really spilled over, you know, to the workplace, and to a point whereby it can really cause quite a severe accident. And this is where we are saying it's good that we get to go back, you know, to the root cause, to what is contributing to the way that I'm really conducting myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So before the break, there's one of the comments on Facebook, one of them saying, you know, a mix of a weaker man. There's another one talking about women generally love emotionally unavailable men.
He said toxic.
Yes, that is what, toxic men. Men who will even look at you and say, I'm not saying sorry. You know, and now for both of you, even as we talk about becoming a man, how, is that true, by the way, first of all? Is that true that women generally, most of them would really go for the ones who are very toxic, emotionally unavailable?
I strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. Because who wants to survive in a toxic environment?
Thank you.
Who wants to? Physical abuse, emotional abuse. I don't think there's anybody who wants to survive in that kind of an environment, regardless of what you've grown up knowing and seeing. We, somewhere at the back of our minds, whether you grew up in a toxic environment or not, we know and we have a desire in us of an ideal environment and setup, relationship that would want to survive in. So I would not agree that women are wired to go for the toxic kind of men. But defining who is a weak man, I don't know what is the definition of a weak man, but from where I sit, if a man is able to forget about his ego and come to the level of apologizing. You may look at him as weak, but that's a very strong man. If you're not yet married and you're dating, don't drop that one.
I want to interject because you're saying generally, according to you, most women won't really go for the toxic. But then now let's have another word here: the bad boys. And so the good boys, kama sisi. Most women would really, in the early years, they'd really yearn for the bad boys. They are emotionally unavailable. And then now later, now really start searching. Shake kichwa, agreeing with me.
Let me
really now anaanza sa kutafuta now the good boys.
The definition of a bad boy varies from one woman to another.
Yeah.
Bad boy is not necessarily the toxic one. Bad boy men can be one who spoils you until you're speechless. So bad, the definition varies.
Ya kuspoil ni mpya.
Until you're speechless. Umesikia? I hope you're taking notes. But I'd love to hear from Kagondu. A scenario where a couple comes to you for premarital counseling, and the lady tells you, I really love it, or I'd really appreciate it if he apologizes. And the guy tells you, ay, me yo siwezi. Will you encourage them to go ahead and get married? Because, or rather, my question is, can you relearn and unlearn? Will you give them the green light? Wambia sawa, you will learn in the marriage.
You know, the beauty about us, human beings, is that what will make a big difference between us and the others in the animal kingdom is the power of choice. We're able to make a choice, all right? And as much as I was socialized, taught to live in a certain way, there's also a big chance and also a possibility that I can be able to unlearn and learn new things. Learn new ways of doing things, right? And this is where we are saying that if I come from a toxic family, right, it doesn't mean that I also have to allow a toxic family to come from me, right? The same way that we say if I came from a poverty-stricken family, that I'll allow my kids, to experience all that. We have seen so many people working so hard to ensure that they give to their kids what they never got, when they were growing up. And the same case applies to us. If I'm very intentional, and especially when it comes to the kind of a relationship that I have, right, I'll be able to also work on me to ensure that I provide the best. When coach talks about nobody wants to be in a relationship that is quite toxic and you're not happy and all that, remember when you're getting into this relationship, it's not for it's not a contract for 2 years, right? If you're blessed enough and you hit your 90s together and you're in this particular relationship whereby there's a lot of toxicity, then that means you'll be suffering every other time. And these are the guys who'll be taking anti-acid every other time. Why? Because of the anxiety, talk about the uneasiness in their tummy and all that, indigestions, talk about that, right? And this is where we say that as an individual, I can be very intentional. Because what I instill, whatever I planned into that particular relationship, this is what I'm also going to get in return.
Right, let's now pick another call. Kalei from City Center. Kalei, habari asubuhi, and thank you for calling us this morning. Tuambie maoni yako or if you have any question. Kalei, habari asubuhi. City Center kukoaje? Do you have any questions ama una maoni yote on our conversation?
I think we've lost him. I think we've lost him.
All right. After credit, call in live. So far, tumepata perspective here. I think 2 ladies so far. A couple of gentlemen. Curious, still also on the ladies. How often does he, apologize? And gentlemen, how often do you apologize and how do you do it? I'm curious, does it now get better or easier with age? You probably find a newlywed ameingia kwa ndoa, starting in a relationship probably early or rather late 20s huko. Maybe atasema pana mimi sisemi sorry, or rather for them will it be easier for them to say sorry compared to mwenye amekuwa maybe in the 50s?
When you are in a relationship, in your 20s, and let's now bring this relationship to a marriage, people differ and quarrel over anything. Toothpaste, where you place your socks, where you dropped the shirt instead of the laundry basket, you missed it with an inch and it fell down. And that can really be a big issue. But as you grow in this relationship, and more so if it's a natural, good, healthy relationship, I think there are things you look at and you go like, pass. They are a non-issue, really. Whether you press the toothpaste at the top, at the middle, at the bottom, it's really a non-issue compared to what we have, what we share together on a 90%, kind of ranking. When also you mature,
okay,
I would want to
hold that thought before now you really get into now maturing. I want us to end all the way to Kibwezi. Geshabi, do you know where Kibwezi is?
I'll tell you after the show.
Tuende Kibwezi tupate na Tony bara asubuhi, kuna maoni au maswali ya kutuuliza?
Niko na asante sana. Kila nataka contribute kuhusu topic ya leo. I really appreciate the fact that umeileta kwa sababu most of the men hatujafunzwa kunini ku apologize. Lakini kile ambacho mimi nataka kusema ni kwamba sijui ni kwa sababu I was brought up by my auntie au ni nini. Kwa sababu apology kwangu iko ngumu. Na hiyo mambo ya kwamba ati kuna toxic men, ati kuna toxic, the bad boys ndio watu ambao wasichana ugofo most of the time. Ni uongo. Hiyo story ni story ya uongo kabisa. Mimi I've been a good boy for tangia nizaliwe. Na kwa sababu ya karakta yangu ya kuwa I'm very apologetic, I love to keep the peace. The kind of relationship that I've been attracting are some of the most richest kind of relationship. Na bad boys wanashindanga tu kila wakati na heartbreak, but hizo vitu hazifanyikiaje mimi.
Umekuwa relationship how long?
Yeah, I mean, in a relationship right now, and every one of those particular relationships, the past relationship was rich also. Na kitu ambao bad boys wanafaa kujua ni kwamba whatever you sow, hiyo ni mambo ya Biblia, whatever you sow is what you reap. Ukisow kuwa emotionally invested, you ndio the same thing utarip kutoka kwa hiyo relationship au kutoka kwa hiyo msichana. And they also attract bad girls. Kuna bad girls pia ambao wanawaattract. Asante.
Asante sana Tony kutoka Kibwezi. Salimia watu wa Kibwezi, utulete maembe huku Nairobi by the way. Season ya maembe, msikae na maembe kwa sana. That is Tony's take. Anasema good boys yeye anaenjoy. Maboys wake wale bad boys wanapata heartbreak after ingine. Juu hawezi sema pole. Kumbe pole inaweza save nini hivyo?
Relationship hivyo? Probably explains why you're single, eh? But I'd love to hear from Elizabeth. There's also something he's mentioned. He said, I am too apologetic. How do you weigh if someone is, too apologetic? Or is that a thing even?
Where do you draw the line?
That's why we are saying you've got to weigh what's the issue and non-issues. If really you... Honestly,
but Elizabeth, a non-issue to you might be a big issue to me.
Yeah, but if we are growing up together in this relationship, we are in marriage, 5 years, I don't think at 5 years we should be fighting that you left the socks at the door. Because we have grown up together. Okay? So we've got also to look at non-issues really. If it's an issue of a guy stepping out of marriage, now that's an issue. Really. So which one are you ready to deal with? The guy stepped out of the marriage or the socks are at the door?
Very emphatic on picking your battles.
Yeah, exactly. That's the bottom line. Pick your battles, know what works. And if you've been in this relationship long enough, you know your partner very well. You understand that this is what they do and this is how far they can stretch in terms of annoying me, irritating me, and I can know how to click the ignore button. Sometimes they're walking in with stress from their workplace. So you've got to be very intentional in, once you get into this relationship, it's not just about me, it's about us growing together. Now, let me go back to the place of, as you grow together in a relationship, where sometimes the conflicts tend to be lesser in the relationship. And to me, this is to the best of my ability. When you have your smartphone and the battery is running low, what you do is, what do?
You charge it.
You're not close to a charger. You unaeka kwa energy saving.
Energy saving mode.
So many times as you mature, you don't have the energy really to keep quarreling over socks, over that shirt, over everything. So engage energy saving mode. All applications on your phone will not work when you've engaged the energy saving mode, right? It's the same thing. Even emotionally, you engage energy saving mode. It's not everything that will really be an issue to me. So that's why you realize as you grow older, there are things that are really non-issue. So as you even go to the mentors and the older people that you want to really seek wisdom from, that's why you mention something to them and they go like, is that even an issue? Because they have outgrown it really. They have outgrown it and they have reached that point of energy saving mode. Let's only do the calls, do what is necessary. These are the things that are really non-issue. As long as the relationship is healthy. Yes.
Shall we to Naivasha?
Yeah, I'm being told you have Caleb from Naivasha. Good morning, Caleb.
Good morning.
Unaendeleaje? Tuambie, contribute to the topic or ask your question.
First, I'm loving the heart of saying sorry. Yeah, it is a very good conversation.
Thank you.
And I do believe and think that through saying sorry in a true way, it comes from the heart. That is an heart issue. Na vile umeweza kuzungumza kwamba kuna story ndogo na kuna story kubwa. I don't think in the Bible way there is a story ndogo and a story kubwa. What I do believe and I think is the right way to say sorry, it is from the heart. You can say it by your mouth, but from the heart is still there. In the yet again, there may be a public show that you are saying I'm sorry, but in the real sense, from the heart, you are still you are still carrying the grudges and you are still carrying the heart.
So, Caleb, Caleb, allow me to ask you.
Yes, please.
Labda umekosea mpoa, unaanzanga na I am sorry, alafu unanunua kakitu baadaye, kanyama nini, ama unaanzanga na kanyama ama ka gift ndio sasa useme I am sorry?
Oh, we've lost him. We've lost him.
Right,
I'd have loved to hear that.
Yes, true. Itabidi tuende Vasha. Tuende Vasha.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'd love to hear from Kagondu. He said an apology has to come from their heart. Yeah. You've said there are things we can't be arguing over, 5 years into the marriage, 10 years into the marriage, i.e. socks. Don't you think we let men go easily? Why won't you take it upon yourself to stop leaving those socks there? But kutaka mimi ndio ni, I stop.
Energy saving mode.
Won't you make our life easier by just stop leaving those socks there? Acha kufinya Colgate katikati. Sorry, toothpaste.
Yes. I know when you talk about such issues, and especially where some small issues may be such a big issue to the other person, depending on how you are and especially on your preference and all that. Yeah. One challenge that I see most people are facing is that we get into a relationship with the intention of changing the other person.
Exactly.
All right? And you tend to waste a lot of energy when I want to convert the significant other to my way of life. Remember, this person has a history. You know where they come from, the way that they were socialized. Talk about the learning and the unlearning. There was a lot of learning that took place, along the way. These are persons that you meet in your 20s, if not in your 30s, and you expect them to change and conform to your likes and preferences. I think that would be a very big a big challenge and, of course, a big lie. And this is where we say, as we grow with each other, you know, because it doesn't mean because you come in over, and especially we are getting into a relationship, that I should change entirely to what you prefer or what I prefer. It's good that we grow with one another. And this is where we say that I tend to, you know, really understand what you like, what you don't like. Of course, it's not everything that will be able to change, all right? But if there are those two triggers that I'm able to pick, kama ni socks, leo nikisahau, because I was a bit tired, you know, from the workplace, it doesn't mean that I'm provoking you. You know, this is where understanding, you know, comes in. And when you talk about issues to do even with the love language, you know, our personalities also, you know, they do contribute in a very big way. I'm imagining of a person who is a choleric, if not a melancholy, who loves doing things in a certain way. And, you know, I'm a sanguine here, and all I love is some happy, good moments. And I tend to forget where my handkerchief is, and every other time I'm asking you, hey, babe, your handkerchief iko wapi? Every other morning, all right? And, you know, as much as, yes, there are those differences and all that, it's good that we tend to accommodate each other. But of course, I also have a sole responsibility to grow with you. And of course, ensure that you're also having it easy, because we are not in a relationship to make it harder for each other. Yeah.
Do you feel like you can change someone? Initially, they were not wale wa kusema, oh, I'm sorry, alafu, you know, you actually change them. But then before you get that, now let's pick another call from Wapi, Kakamega, all the way. Tumetoka Vasha, tunaenda all the way to Kakamega now. And tupate maoni ya Ben. Ben, habari ya asubuhi. Asante sana for calling us. What are your, kuna maswali au maoni?
Asante sana kwa nafasi hii TV47. Sasa mimi nina jambo hapa.
Okay.
Unaomba msamaha, sema I'm sorry, but she's not ready even to forgive. Utafanya namna gani katika hali kama hiyo? Another thing is like for example, you feel like okay, nilifanya makosa, unakuja na zawadi before useme pole. She receives it and say, okay, now it's okay, I've forgiven him, my good husband. You're the only one I found in Jerusalem, wewe ndio tuko na wewe hapa. Lakini after like a day anakuambia, you are just bribing me, I have not forgiven you. Kwa hali kama hiyo unafanya namna gani? And then the lady leaves you, goes back to her father's place, anakaa miaka kama 4, you keep on following, akuji. Mnakutana kwa mahoteli, mnaongea, na kwa baba yangu hajakubali tena, ngoja tu nifikirie, let's pray over it. Wacha ni heal kwanza. Na hiyo hali yeye ndiye amekukosea, si eti hata mimi mwanaume nimekosa. Until to some extent nasema okay, mke wangu, hiyo makosa yenye sasa unasema ati hiyo makosa yote wekea mimi. Wewe you are clean, wekea mimi. Inakaa hivyo na mlifanya harusi. Tumefanya harusi, tumeimba, tunaomba, tunafanya nini? Utafanya nini, my brother who is in a black suit hapo na hiyo great trouser I can see from Kakamega.
Ben, labda nikuulize.
Yes.
Hiyo swali umeuliza, swali mzuri, well elaborated. Ni personal story ama ni for example tu?
Asking on behalf of
a friend. Not an example. I'm calling here, I'm in the house alone. No wife, she left me. Yes.
Wacha tukutafutie majibu sahihi. Asante sana Ben.
And we are so sorry Ben. We hope you're able to.
Bwana mniweka hata kwa news hapo. Kuna kijana Kakamega hapa tu anakaa tu na mwana hii. A whole engineer. You can imagine a whole engineer.
Pole sana Ben. Pole. Asiporudi utapata mwingine.
Asante Mungu afungue njia.
Pole sana engineer. Pole sana engineer. And asante sana for calling us this morning. Engineer anasumbuka. Alisema sorry, akasema sorry, akasema sorry. Ile from the ule ovasha ile from the heart. Akasema sorry. Lakini now the receiver of this sorry akasema no.
Akapelekwa dates, akakata.
The finest hotels in Kakamega.
They say once bitten, twice shy. And sometimes when people play that hard, they have been beaten once. And so they have built a wall. Okay? And so they are so scared that if they bring down this wall, worse will happen, probably depending on what they have gone through. You may have been beaten once, healed, and moved on, but you see the scar is still there. And the scars differ. You have a scar from a knife, which heals within 1 week. Now you have a major surgery, which takes months to heal and needs a lot of care.
Yeah.
So the scars vary. And so once bitten, twice shy, those are some of the things you come to realize probably the first punch was too much, that this person decided, let me just build a wall. Is there hope? Yes, there is hope. Allow me to go to the Bible, because I believe God is a healer. God is a healer. He can heal the broken hearts. He said that in the word. So he can heal, he can mend actually the broken hearts. So I think let's not just dismiss the place of God in all these relationships and in all what we are doing, because we can try to figure out life on our own without the third person in the equation, and then we mess it up. When you make it a 3 strands affair, it's stronger, it's better, it's able to withstand and overcome the storms, because they'll be there. The challenges will be there. Yes.
Lakini sasa niambie Gashambi pole siku ya kwanza. Aseme no mistaki. Iishi hapo. Yeye yake kwa rekodi yake, because as you say, ladies know how to shelf records very well. Hadi amezilabel. Ulifanya ABC, everything. So next time, first time akubali sorry yangu. So next time, even how I'm going to say sorry, sita change.
Yeah, it's good that we appreciating that it's good that we get to say sorry, all right? But now, the other person who is receiving, this apology also has a stake. We say that the bravest are the ones who apologize, and the strongest are the ones that, forgive. But the ones who heal is the one that really forget, okay? But it's quite a bit of a challenge, especially where we have the scars, and that will take you back, to what happened, and especially the ordeal that you went through. But I have a challenge with most of us, especially when it comes to dealing with the conflicts and the differences that you have. I've seen situations whereby badminton is used as a way of, trying to, mask everything, because there's a lot of masking. It could be that I'm gifting you, but in the real sense, I'm just masking, the act or even the deed that how I contributed to this particular situation. And this is where we go back to, when I apologize, do we get to talk about the issue? All right? Do we get to deal with the key contributor to all this? Because in most cases, it's just a word and you think that all is well. But remember, this person has not healed. Why? Because you haven't dealt with the root cause of all this. This is why I really want to encourage, my brother out there. It could be that probably you never touched on the issue. In that situation that we had earlier on, where one was angry and they're shouting at their partner in the presence of other people, if you don't get to address such an issue and you raise your voice again in a different situation, they'll still go back there, because remember, we are human, and we are prone to emotions, talk about the feelings and all that. And this is where I do advocate that we get to talk about the issues as they are.
Ndio tusaidie pia engineers. So, will you advise engineer endelee kupursue or arrest?
It's good that you also give them time, because the more I am persistent in a way, it loses the meaning of the whole thing, especially with the apology. You can imagine when I'm always at your door, hey, pole sana. Every other time kwa text, pole sana. Even with the email, pole sana. Nimeenda pia kwa social media, pole sana. And that becomes a whole lot of, it turns out to be nagging at the end of the day. And this is where you say it's also good that we allow them, to have a moment of reflection and think through about this particular issue. But it doesn't mean that we don't go back and try again and again. Yeah.
How much time is enough time? Because there's someone who wronged me last year, that one, and I'm still waiting for an apology. So how much time is enough time? And when do you know now, I need to move on with my
Tuache
life.
you rest.
Siwezi, itakuwa ngumu. So how much time is enough time?
You're saying it is a year?
2 years ago.
Silence. Okay, 2 years.
2 years ago. That's just after elections. I think at any time elections.
Before elections.
Before elections.
No, it's actually time elections.
Wow.
Remember that silence is also a form of communication. All right? And probably I've taken 2 years because I really don't want anything to do with it. Right? But if I really want to work on a relationship, within a certain amount of time, depending on how hurt I was, or even the magnitude of the whole situation, I don't think that we should wait for all that time, for 2 good years, right? But the thing is, it's also good that we also appreciate that what we say that it is also personal. How does your person, your employer, love dealing with things? Do they love to be given time, to process? Because if I'm a reflector, at the end of the day, I don't want you banging at my door, every other time, because I also need some time to reflect on that particular issue. But if I love dealing with things there and then that means, staki tungoja whole 2 years, I would like to, to be through with that particular issue within the shortest time possible.
So if engineer is to give his person time, is he supposed to tell her that I'm giving you time to, is he supposed to communicate that or just keep quiet?
It's equally important that you let them know that they're being given time, to reflect and all that. But also the employer, what are they doing in return? Are they working on it? We say that time heals, but to me, I tend to disagree with that, because it's what you do with the time that actually heals. You can't tell me that I've been hurt, I've gone through a loss, I'm grieving and all that, but I'm doing nothing in terms of seeking support. We have heard of people who are unable to overcome or go through, say, loss, say, of a property or even a significant other, and it's because they're not seeking support, they're not getting help, and that's why it takes a lot of time for them to heal.
Right. Tuende tupate machake kwa health threats. Kutoka Deno, habari asubuhi. And thank you for calling. Tuambie, do you have a question? Do you have kuna maoni ya kutuambia? Do you oftenly apologize ama wale wa Mrs. Emisuri?
Naam, asante sana. Nashukuru kwa mjadala wa siku ya leo. Mtaniruhusu nitumie Kiswahili kidogo.
Tafadhali, yes.
First of all, kwanza kabisa kusema pole, saying sorry is something good. Saying sorry feels good. And if you find yourself sometimes saying sorry repeatedly every now and then, until it comes and looks like it's a disease, when you keep on saying sorry, it means there is a problem, and a major problem somewhere. If we are living, for example, as lovers together in a family, and we find it that every time we say sorry, and you come to sit down, and then you see that whatever you are saying sorry about, maybe might be non-issues. So this is what I might say in such a setting, that if you do say sorry in non-issues every now and then, maybe there is no that attachment between the two of you. And if there is no that attachment, that's when you'll find that every now and then I do mistake, because I know that, yes, I'm not attached so much to this lady or to this man. So, and automatically when I come and say sorry to her or him, I'll be forgiven, and I'll keep on repeating. So this is what I'm trying to say. Let's try our level best to ensure that we cut the number of things every now and then, because that means we are not in love. We are not in love. We don't love each other. We are not attached. We are not close to each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asante sana Dennis kutoka Eldoret. So time is really flying, really need to get your final thoughts. But then just to pick up from what he was talking about, and in Gashambi's case, hajaambiwa pole from 2 years ago. But then now, hypothetically, before we get your final thoughts, so hypothetically, this person said sorry. But then Gashambi said, sawa. They didn't really clarify. So the person who said sorry doesn't know, umekubali sorry yangu? Ama maybe Gashambi says, fine, umekubali. But then deep down, they're like, apana, wewe you may react, ni kama hujakubali. So they keep nudging and baka ukubali, sorry yake. How does that play?
I think two consenting adults, there is that which is expected of them, fine. Let me first go back to what you asked about how much time. For me, that's something we need to agree on. There should be a consensus.
Yeah.
Okay? So even if we are not even in talking terms, bring in a mediator to mediate this side and this side. How much time do you need? Because you see, we can't give you forever.
Sure.
People have to make adjustments and move on.
Yeah.
I think that term is used more in politics, but also in life. We've got to get to the place of we need to move on.
Shambi, move on.
So if you're not able to agree, the two of you, you just can't keep saying, give me time. How much time do you need? Okay? So that consensus need to be built. If need be, bring in some mediators to mediate. Your church leaders, your uncles, your aunties, people that are respected by the two of you, and bring them in on board. What was that question again? Before I interrupted.
Hypothetically, the person who said sorry to Gashambi, or rather said sorry, hypothetically this person said sorry, but then they don't feel like this person accepted the sorry, and they now keep nudging, kubali sorry yangu. Kushu umeniforgive.
How do you know I've not forgiven you unless you're a mood reader? How will you be able to gauge that? So what you're simply saying is my actions should now speak louder than words. Fine, I've had your apology. But suppose you say sorry and say like, okay, I have forgiven you. And I coil back to the person I was, to the character that I was still holding on to, the, then I have not really accepted your apology. Back to, we're dealing with two consenting adults, not children. Okay? So really nobody will abuju-buju you to come to the place of, you've accepted my apology, abuju-buju, and no. If you're an adult, fine, I have forgiven you, then let's move on. My actions will say that for sure, I have forgiven you. Yes.
Right, so I think now tuanze kuambia Fred akaribia.
But Fred akikaribianga, Gondo, I'd love to hear from you as we wrap it up. They say forgive but don't forget. Is that a principle we should reply?
We stock mahali.
Utuweke mahali. Remember what you say, it's a key contributor to the conflicts that you have. If you can remember the time, the color of clothes, the person that you are with a particular time that you wronged me, that means that you haven't been able to move on. And this is why we say that it's good that we get to understand that we have a stake at it. And especially when it comes how we get to deal with the whole issue. So have I accepted? But as much as yes, we say that we should not forget, but it should not serve as a reminder every other time. You remember this time you did this, and now you are repeating the same issue. I think that will do more harm than good in that particular relationship.
Maybe you can tell us where we can find you.
Yes, I'm based in Thika, working with Mind Care Africa, where we offer our counseling services, of course, with the trainings and all that. And on the social media, it will be Kagondo Junior, JNR. Am I allowed to say my number? 0722 450045. 0722 450045. It's okay not to be okay, but it's still okay to talk about it. Reach out so that we can support you.
Okay. How about you, my dear?
Right, Kinyo, your last thoughts?
For me, you'll find me first on social media. That's where I like to begin. I'm Elizabeth Kenywa on Facebook. You can also find me at the Naomi Talk Initiative on Facebook. Those two, you'll get me there.
Nice.
Right. So even as Fred akikaribia, tupate pia last words zake as a gentleman, how often he says sorry. Collins Ombonye says more often than not. Stephen Oduor, that is significant, Angoa.
Angoa. I love it.
I've been listening and I really like the perspectives, but I have one question on the issue of time still. Like there's a rapid apology and there's a delayed apology. Like nikikanyaga mguu, I say, hey, sorry. But then I may do something that I was so sure I want to do this, but then you get offended and I don't say sorry immediately. I wait for a while. Is there a difference between if I do something, but I intended to do it, but I realize because you've taken offense, I say, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Or I do something, then I realize, hey, after a while is when I realize I really must have offended that person, then I come back and say sorry. Is there a difference to that?
Yeah, I think it depends with the situation, yeah, and especially on the magnitude and how the seriousness of the matter. There are also situations whereby there is an element of Cold War that might be used against you. I'm the one who has wronged you, but I ensure that I maintain silence as a way of making you to feel uncomfortable, you know. And at the end of the day, you know, the person who has been wronged is the one who end up, you know, apologizing. And I feel that that's not really a good case, because we should be mindful and share a lot of compassion with the other person. So Cold War tuachane naye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, what's your take on that?
I think, as he said, it depends with the magnitude of the issue. And again, at times you may take longer to bring the apology because depending on where the moods are, the temperature is at that moment. So you may need time to cool. Then you're able to sober up, think straight, and now deal with the issue and bring the apology.
All right.
Yes.
It's been quite some nice discussion. I was just there on side listening. I think I've learned a thing or two. But I'm still not apologizing. I told you Ivory Coast is going to win this tournament. But that was not what we were talking about either way. And as you said, politicians rarely apologize. I do a lot of these political interviews, and they say one thing completely off, and they never say sorry. Yeah, but in relationships, apology is key.
Apology is key. Elizabeth Kinyo, life coach, as well as James Mwangi, alias Kagunda Jr., counseling psychologist. Asanteni sana, we've learned a lot. I hope back at home with all those calls, if you were not able to make a call, pia umelearn a lot. Na kama uko na mpoa, umemwambia sorry if ulimkosea. Kama hauna, kama mimi o Gashambi. Makosa ni, I am sorry. I am sorry. That's what we have to dock it today.
Thank you so much for keeping us company throughout the show from 6 a.m. up until now. It's been quite a very informative discussion, and all the other discussions. Remember, all this continues online through our social media pages on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. On my behalf, my name is Fred Ndimuli. Have a lovely day.
I'm Gashambi Ndirishu. And you?
Okay, I was waiting for a whole other...